match filled with precision, strategy, and heart. Few embodied that better than John Stockton, the legendary floor general known for his sharp vision and unmatched basketball IQ. Every possession was a puzzle, every defender a problem to solve. But even for someone as brilliant as Stockton, certain opponents pushed him to his limits. Today, we break down the 6 players who truly challenged his craft, tested his toughness, and brought out the best in one of the smartest point guards the game has ever seen. Before John Stockton ever faced NBA legends, his first real test came from a player many fans have almost forgotten, Dwayne "Pearl" Washington. Long before Stockton became a master of order and precision, he had to survive the chaos that Pearl brought to the court. Washington was a showman, the kind of player who turned basketball into art. His game flowed like music, full of rhythm, unpredictability, and creativity. One spin move here, a hesitation dribble there. Defenders never knew what was coming next. Stockton once called him a revelation. At the 1984 U.S. Olympic trials, their showdown became a turning point. On one side stood Stockton, methodical, disciplined, calculated. On the other, Pearl, free-flowing, dazzling, impossible to predict. Stockton had to abandon the comfort of his game plan and learn how to read chaos in motion. Each possession became a lesson in quick thinking and anticipation. Looking back, Stockton credited that experience with sharpening his defensive instincts. He was flashy, but he had real substance, Stockton reflected. You had to stay alert every second, because the moment you relaxed, he'd make you pay. While Pearl's pro career never matched the brilliance of his Syracuse days, his influence lived on in Stockton. Guarding Pearl wasn't just about containing a talented opponent. It was Stockton's crash course in adaptability. That early encounter taught him how to stay disciplined while adjusting to the unpredictable, a skill that would define his Hall of Fame career. Pearl Washington may not have become a household NBA name, but for Stockton, he was the spark that ignited a lifetime of mental mastery on the court. Magic Johnson, the architect of Showtime and every point guard's worst nightmare. At 6 feet 9 inches, with vision that seemed almost supernatural, Magic wasn't just a challenge for John Stockton. He was a full-blown mental marathon. Facing him was like trying to outthink a genius who already knew your next move. Stockton once admitted, he saw things no one else could. Before you even reacted, he'd already adapted. Magic turned every possession into a chess match. He could slice through defenses on a fast break, or thread a pass so perfectly timed it looked scripted. Trying to stop him, Stockton said, felt like standing in front of a tidal wave. You could brace yourself, but you couldn't stop it. Their playoff duels were legendary. Stockton hustled, read plays, and fought through exhaustion just to keep up. Yet Magic would still find ways to control the game without even needing to score. One Jazz-Lakers series became a masterclass in leadership. Stockton pushed himself to the limit, contesting every pass and anticipating every move. But Magic's creativity and control still dictated the rhythm. It wasn't just about skill, it was about mental endurance. He taught me what real leadership looks like, Stockton later said. Magic could own the floor without taking a single shot. Though their styles couldn't have been more different, Magic's larger-than-life flair versus Stockton's quiet precision. The mutual respect was undeniable. Off the court, Stockton often called Magic the ultimate floor general, a player who redefined what it meant to lead. Facing Magic wasn't just competition. For Stockton, it was a masterclass in how greatness truly operates. Kevin Johnson, a human lightning bolt in sneakers. If Magic Johnson beat you with brilliance, KJ beat you with pure speed and force. Every possession felt like a fast break waiting to happen. He didn't just play fast, he lived fast on the court. For John Stockton, guarding him was like trying to contain an explosion. With KJ, you couldn't take a breath, Stockton once recalled. The second you relaxed, he was already gone. KJ attacked defenses like a freight train, quick, fearless, and impossible to predict. He could saw through traffic for a dunk or thread pinpoint passes that caught even veterans off guard. During the early 1990s, when the Jazz faced the Suns, their duels were electric. Stockton, usually in complete control, found himself reacting instead of dictating. Kevin's pace broke patterns and forced defenders to play on instinct. It was like trying to stop lightning, Stockton admitted. Even when you thought you had him figured out, he'd pull something new. But those matchups weren't just tests of endurance. They became lessons in precision. Stockton had to elevate his defensive IQ, learning how to read KJ's footwork, anticipate his burst, and recognize when he'd shift gears. Over time, Stockton realized KJ's brilliance went beyond athleticism. Kevin wasn't just fearless, he said. He was calculated. He used his speed like a weapon, but always with purpose. Though their clashes grew fewer as the years passed, the respect between them never faded. For Stockton, Kevin Johnson wasn't just another opponent. He was a mirror reflecting how high the standard of excellence could rise when speed met intelligence on the NBA stage. Gary Payton, the walking definition of a nightmare opponent. For John Stockton, facing the glove meant entering a battlefield that tested both body and mind. Payton's defense was legendary, but it wasn't just his hands that made life miserable. It was his mouth. He talked, taunted, and tore at your concentration from the opening tip to the final buzzer. Stockton later admitted, Gary was relentless, not just physically, but mentally. You weren't just playing basketball, you were trying to survive. Their clashes in the Jazz and Sonics playoff battles of the 1990s remain etched in NBA history. Payton's defense wasn't about reacting, it was about predicting. He seemed to read plays before they happened, cutting off passing lanes and turning routine possessions into chaos. He sensed everything, Stockton recalled. It felt like he was everywhere at once. But what made Payton truly dangerous was that he wasn't just a defensive menace. He could score, orchestrate, and dominate offensively while still talking nonstop. Every word, every smack, every shove was designed to throw opponents off their rhythm. Stockton, known for his composure, had to dig deep to stay locked in. Gary made you raise your level, he said. You couldn't lose focus for even a second. He'd make you pay immediately. What looked like hostility on the surface was actually mutual respect underneath. Stockton admired Payton's fire, his pride, and his refusal to back down. He played every game like it was personal, Stockton once said. And that kind of competitiveness forces you to be sharper. Years later, Stockton still speaks of those matchups with respect, not as battles he endured, but as experiences that defined his edge. Gary Payton wasn't just a trash-talking defender. He was a test of mental endurance, and Stockton passed it by staying true to his quiet, disciplined brilliance, possession after possession. Isaiah Thomas, the rival who mixed respect with rivalry, strategy with swagger. For John Stockton, few matchups carried as much tension or meaning. Their battles in the late 80s and early 90s weren't just point guard duels. They were mental wars between two of the smartest floor generals in basketball. Both men played chess while everyone else played checkers, and neither wanted to blink first. Isaiah was a master manipulator of the game. He could control tempo, shift momentum, and crush confidence with a single play. Whether it was a slick no-look pass through traffic or a cold-blooded jumper in the clutch, Thomas had that rare killer instinct that separated great players from legends. Stockton once said that guarding Isaiah wasn't just about staying in front of him, it was about outthinking him. He had this edge, Stockton recalled, an attitude that said, I'm going to win, no matter what, and that made him tough to play against. The tension between them was real, fueled by pride, competitiveness, and the unspoken desire to prove who truly ran the point. Every matchup between the Jazz and Pistons felt personal, but beneath that heat, there was deep respect. Stockton never denied Isaiah's brilliance, often calling him one of the toughest and smartest opponents he ever faced. He could embarrass you if you lost focus for even a second, Stockton admitted. Players like that make you sharper. Years later, the rivalry mellowed into mutual admiration. Both men recognized that their battles weren't just about winning games. They were about pushing each other to evolve. Isaiah tested Stockton's poise. Stockton challenged Isaiah's precision. And together they helped define an era where leadership, grit, and intelligence ruled the court. Clyde Drexler, the ultimate blend of versatility, strength, and grace. While John Stockton spent most of his career squaring off against elite point guards, Drexler was a completely different challenge. He wasn't confined to one position or one style. He could beat you anywhere on the court. During those intense Jazz Blazers battles, Stockton described Drexler as a player who could do everything: pass, shoot, defend, and attack. You couldn't guess what he'd do next. and that unpredictability made him terrifying. Drexler wasn't flashy like some of his peers, but he was efficient, smooth, and ruthlessly effective. He could glide through defenses with deceptive ease, forcing opponents to stay locked in from start to finish. You couldn't pigeonhole him, Stockton once said. You had to be ready for anything. That adaptability made preparing for Drexler a nightmare. One moment he'd be orchestrating plays like a guard, the next he'd explode to the rim with the power of a forward. What set Drexler apart wasn't just his skill, but his leadership. In clutch moments, the entire flow of the Blazers' offense seemed to orbit around him, and somehow, he always made the right decision. Stockton admired how Drexler elevated his team, not just by scoring, but by making everyone around him better. He wasn't about stats, Stockton said. He made the whole team dangerous. Even though Stockton typically matched up with quicker guards, he respected Drexler for being a complete player, one who combined athleticism with a deep understanding of the game. Facing Drexler wasn't just physical. It demanded total focus and mental resilience. Looking back, Stockton credits players like Drexler for shaping his evolution. Each opponent, whether a flashy showman, a mental tactician, or a powerhouse like Clyde, forced him to adapt and sharpen his craft.